Okay. Yeah. Okay. We are live. All right. Welcome to Gluten-Free Doesn't Have to Suck. I am just, I still love that name because that's how I felt when I first figured out that I have to go gluten-free. I'm like, God, this sucks. So I'm just getting here on my phone to make sure that I can see the comments. We're using StreamYard. So as you guys come on, I know there's nobody on right now. However, if you're watching the recording, because that's the only one who's going to be watching this at this time. But whether you're coming on live or you're watching the recording, you can still comment. And whether or not this recording is over, we'll still be able to see your comments and answer your questions. Mm-hmm. So, well, Jen, welcome to the Live at 5. I know this isn't your first time, but welcome.
Hello. Nice to be back again.
I'm so glad. Let me just fix my chair here. I'm so glad you're here and you're doing this with us because you're the expert. You're the one who teaches people every day how to go gluten-free. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but Jen is part of the 4-month program, right? So we have the body, the mind, and the soul. And Jen is there to make sure that your gluten-free transition goes as easy as possible because it really does suck in the beginning when you think that you have to turn your life upside down. Jen, what was your initial thought what year was it? And what was your initial thought when you found out you had to go gluten-free?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So it was 12 years ago. And my initial thought was like, oh my God, what is gluten?
What is gluten? First of all, exactly.
What is gluten? No one around me believed. My parents thought I made it up.
Yeah.
No one believed me. I was like, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah. And it's making me not feel good. And they're like, that's ridiculous because everything in moderation is fine. That's what we grew up hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was pretty tough at the beginning. And we were just saying, it's so easy for us, but we've done this for so long that we forget that it can be easy. And that's what we want you to know, that you can get there. You might not be there today, and that's okay.
I'm glad you said that because you're right. For me, I'm like, I was just saying to Jen, like, the reason why I brought her into the program is because I don't teach people every day how to go gluten-free. I teach them every day about why to go gluten-free. Mm-hmm. And I forget how hard it was in the beginning to find these foods. So we're going to start today. We're going to talk a lot about how to go gluten-free, but you guys we made a post in the group about what the biggest concerns were. So I want to tackle them one by one, what the biggest concerns are so we can answer your direct questions. And guys, for the ones who are on live right now, you can absolutely, oh, hey, Mary, I see that you're on. Natalie already asked a question. So just ask your questions. There's no rhyme or reason to this. We're just getting it done today. Natalie says, what about multigrain? Yeah, multigrain. There's multiple grains that probably contain gluten, right, Jen?
Yep. I was trying to pull up the comments, but I'll let you do that.
If one of those grains is barley or rye or wheat, then you know that it has gluten in it. So in the Minding Your Soul group in the files section, for years now, there has been this guide, 5 steps to going gluten-free. And on the first or second page, it's going to tell you, understanding what gluten is, it's going to tell you wheat, barley, rye. Jen, how do you say this? Triticale?
Triticale. I think
not even close. Triticale.
Triticale.
That sounds a lot classier.
People say it different ways. You also want to add oats to that. Now, only because oats are very controversial in the gluten-free world, where oats are naturally gluten-free, but in the processing, in the growing and the processing, they are often cross-contaminated. So if you're buying something and it has oats in it, it has to say certified gluten-free oats, or you are still going to be bothered by that. Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that's another thing that I forget. Mm-hmm. Oats and wheat, they use the same machinery to process this stuff. Mm-hmm. So of course, if you're, the processor, you're going to do both and make more money, right? So that's where the cross-contamination comes in. So yeah, naturally you're going to read about, oats don't have gluten. I can eat them. They're safe. But just do yourself a favor because we don't know how sensitive we are, right? We don't know if the virus is actually feeding on the cross-contamination. Just get yourself the gluten-free oats.
Yeah.
So there's a good question here from Kalpa. I'm glad you asked this. We drink barley juice grass powder in the heavy metal detox smoothie. And Jen was awesome. Do you remember what you texted me earlier, like years ago?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, you can't drink that. It's barley. Do not drink that. All right. And you said no, Jen.
Well, because I did the same thing. We are so sensitive to those words. We see the word barley and we're like, oh no, because barley has gluten in it. The barley grass juice powder is the juice of the grass that of the barley plants, and it's the barley grain that has the gluten in it. So the grasses produce the grain, but before the grain is produced, they harvest the grasses because they're very gentle, and they juice them and then they powder them, and that removes the cellulose too, which is really hard on our gut. So it's very gentle, the barley grass juice powder. It doesn't flow off the tongue very nicely.
No.
So Kalpa, perfectly safe, barley grass juice powder. However, when you see barley in an ingredient statement, right, Jen?
Yeah. Stay away from it. Stay away. You will have a reaction, or it will bother you. Yeah.
And that is page 2, understanding what gluten is: wheat, barley, rye, and treated cow. Treated cow. All right, I got it. All right, so let's go down the questions in the post. They had some really awesome ones.
Yeah.
Jan says, gluten is hidden in so many things. It's a minefield for a newbie to navigate. Looking forward to getting some tips. So right off the bat, Jen, what would you say to that?
Yeah. So I actually just made a guide on hidden gluten because so many people have asked about this. So I have a great guide. I will share that link later too. But yes, hidden gluten is what sneaks up on you when you're feeling good all of a sudden, then all of a sudden you're knocked off your feet. Like, what? Where did that come in? Right. So looking for things like soy sauce, that's a big one. People don't realize that soy sauce is made from wheat. Okay, so you can get wheat-free soy sauce, which is tamari, and that works. Or you can use coconut aminos, another substitute for that. Church, getting the host at communion, it has wheat in it, of course. So funny story, not funny, but funny story. My son just made his first communion. And so I called the church and I said, all right, we have to have the gluten-free host because he has celiac disease, and I don't want him to get sick and while he's getting his first communion. And so I said, I need you to look it up, and we are also corn-free, so I need all the ingredients of what's in this because I want to make sure he can have it. And they called me back and said, it's only made with wheat. And I'm like, excuse me? He said, yes, the wheat-free host is made with wheat. And I'm like, okay, can you say that again? Because that makes no sense.
And they think, what is your problem, lady? There's only
just
wheat.
A little.
Yeah, exactly. How much is that really going to hurt you?
That's not how it works, my friend. So, yeah. So that was fun.
Well, that's funny. I feel like everyone has a story about the Eucharist at church because my sister first, she had to go gluten-free. And my sister at first took it, got herself sick, right? So then the second time she's like, all right, I got it. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to get it. And then I'm just going to stick it in my pocket and, just walk away. So she's like 4 or 5 people on her way. Like she already got it. She's 4 or 5 people down. The priest stopped everything, went to go get her and said, excuse me, what did you just do with that body of Christ? She's like, I put it in my pocket. He's like, I'll take it back. Thank you. It's awful. It was awful. So just figure that out ahead of time. Don't do it in. I know. Isn't that terrible? All right. Sorry. We had to share those. Those are some good stories.
Yeah.
All right. So
thinking about things, right? Hidden gluten. Think about when you go to the dentist to have your teeth cleaned. Right?
Oh, that's right.
Anything you're putting in your mouth. But with food, it's like, okay, the one that shocked me was candy canes at Christmas. Candy cane companies will add gluten to the cellophane so it doesn't stick to the sticky treat. I'm like, really?
And when things pour out of a packet, they add wheat to it so it pours more nicely. You got to read everything.
Yeah.
But the good news is, I want to put a positive spin on all of this, right? Because as we're going into this daunting task, what seems like a daunting task in the beginning, we're like, how are we going to remember all this stuff? We do the same thing every week. Everyone does. Whatever grocery shopping you're doing, you walk up and down the aisles and you grab. Put in your cart, you go home.
Yeah.
the transition from doing your normal grocery shopping to doing your gluten-free grocery shopping, the transition part, yeah, it does add a lot of extra thinking.
It's a little bit, yeah.
In a couple weeks, though, you're going to be grabbing the same things again, right? You're going to be gluten-free this, gluten-free that. Okay, I got this, I got that. The first couple weeks is, there's 3 different gluten-free pastas. You know what? Let me taste this one this week. And then you bring it home and you're like, that one's gross.
Not
Next
so
week,
good, because you have to learn how to cook it.
She's so right. Because at first, like when I first met Jen, I'm like, yeah, but brown rice pasta really, really is awful. She's like, you're cooking it wrong. Let me go ahead, give them the tip. I love that because I was doing it wrong.
Well, it's what we learn, right? It's how you learn. You learn, you have to prepare some of the gluten-free foods differently, and as you get them in your kitchen, you learn those tips and strategies, which is what we share in Janine's program, right?
Well, in my program, when I bring Jen in, right, she's in her kitchen and she's cooking stuff and she's like, look, you can still have all of these things and this is how you can have them. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's sometimes when we read a recipe or we hear how easy it is, right? But it's until we see someone actually making it that it really clicks and it's like, oh, that is easy. I can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, who just said that? I'm going to look. Erica just said it, right? She's like, oh, wow, candy canes. But then she said, I grabbed the same stuff. We all do. Erica, that's just it. Once you make the transition into gluten-free, you're grabbing the same stuff anyway. You just got to learn a different one, like the pizzas. You got to find a good gluten-free, if you're not going to make it yourself, which who does that every time? You got to find a good gluten-free, dairy-free pizza. And once you find your pizza, you have it every Friday night, right? And then grab the gluten-free pizza. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Pasta, when you're adding your pasta to chicken soup, right? You just add the gluten-free pasta. And now they have so many different varieties. And listen, Jen has it a little bit worse than we do. We have to avoid gluten, dairy, and eggs, right? Because it's feeding the virus. So we need to starve the virus. And we also need to avoid inflammatory foods if they're inflammatory for us. Like in the beginning, corn was inflammatory for me, so I couldn't eat it for years. Now I can eat it, but I couldn't back then. Corn does not feed the virus, but it's very inflammatory. Jen and her whole family have to be corn-free. I think that's
not all of us, but yeah, my younger guy and I, yes, we both are. And yes, and Janine and I talk about this all the time. Being corn-free is harder than being gluten-free. I can find, for my kids, a whole gluten-free bakery, but then we still can't eat anything in there because they make some things with corn flour, cornmeal, corn starch, so yeah. And corn is very inflammatory. So watching how that affects you is really important.
Good point. So when you're eating a food that bloats you, a processed food, an unnatural food like corn, it bloats you, then this has inflamed my body. This is not good. Let me get off of it for a while. Maybe test it back in. Maybe you just learn to live without it, right? Yeah. When you eat, I just want to explain the difference of when you eat a processed food and you bloat, or when you eat a fruit and a vegetable and you bloat. So what if you say every time I eat whatever vegetable, I bloat up? Brussels sprouts, that's a good one. Or bell peppers. My mother always says, they repeat on her. She can't eat them. What's happening there is when you eat that pepper, those Brussels sprouts, they're so powerful. Remember the superheroes we talked about? Such powerful superheroes that they're killing a pathogen inside of you. That dead pathogen is causing the gas, which is causing your bloating. Now every vegetable and every fruit kills specific pathogens. So you have that specific pathogen in your body that fruit or vegetable is killing, which is creating the gas. That is a different kind of bloat. I mean, it's still bloating, but it's a different kind of bloat than it is from a processed food like corn that's causing the inflammation. Yeah. So a lot of people think, beans, that's a good example. Beans give me so much freaking gas. I can't eat them. Yeah. Beans are very good for you. And Jen has a trick to make them less gassy.
Yeah. Well, you can either boil them for 20 minutes, right? It gets all the gas out of there, or you can soak them overnight, or I've even soaked them for just a couple of hours with a bay leaf or a piece of kombu, which is like a piece of seaweed. Just let it soak, drain them, rinse them off, and throw them in your meals. Yummy and delicious. And I've noticed a big difference, big difference in the gas when we do that for my whole family, let me just say.
To see little things like that, just knowing what to do to avoid that gas. I'm laughing because Leslie just posted, it's corn. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. There's a song going on right now about corn and how juicy it is. And she's just cracking me up that she posted that. Thank you. Hi, Suzanne. I see that you said hi. Erica says, I need pizza and bread. Haven't found one. Well, Erica, you got to find one because you can't live without those things. So Jen, what do you do for pizza and bread?
Well, I make my own.
Yeah. Okay, you don't have to go that far. Now, in the group, Jen does show us how to make homemade pizzas, and it's really good.
Yeah.
You can kind of do homemade, right? You can buy the, well, you probably can't, but the Dia brand, because it has the corn in it, right? So you can't.
Some of those do and some don't.
Okay.
You really have to look at their ingredients. But yes. For breads, there really are a lot of recipes to try for breads, but there are so many breads out there. I am telling you that breads have come a long way.
Yeah,
12 years ago, they were like hard as rock. They were dry and like
sandy. They were dry and sandy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were awful. I'm like, no wonder why people think gluten-free is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, look what we're eating. We're trying to convince ourselves that it's so good.
And you can't sometimes. You eat that bread, you're like, this isn't even worth it.
It wasn't.
Go into the frozen section of your grocery store. A lot of times the gluten-free, I call it the weird section. Everyone calls it the weird section. Go into the weird section and look for that gluten-free bread.
Yeah.
But if you want a really good pizza, Banza, Banza, dairy-free, egg-free, gluten-free, Banza crust. It is so easy to stick a Banza crust, brush it with a little olive oil, stick it in the oven, right? Get it nice and warm and crispy, and then put your toppings on top. Now you're like, oh, well, what about cheese? Okay, you can use a dairy-free cheese. A lot of them suck. Some are really good, but you have to figure out the brands.
Yeah.
But what I have found is that you have to buy a bunch. You have to, I mean, they're really getting good with the butters now, right? But you still have to buy a bunch of cheese to figure out which one you like. Like Dia, I don't like it. I'm sorry, this is going to be gross, so fair warning. But to me, Dia looks like and feels like in my mouth an infection. Yeah. It's just pus. I hate it. So disgusting.
It's changed because it used to be better. And
I don't know. Did it?
They changed the ingredients because I know they've added corn to some of them. And that was a big change because we used cheese and now we can't. So it's like, okay, thanks for that. But it's not good anymore. They've like all the companies, and I'm sure that you're all seeing this, all food with what's going on in our world right now, they're changing ingredients to make things easier to make, easier to process. And in the long run, they're cutting out some of the things that we need. So, but like Janine said, go to your freezer section. I did not know that the bread was kept in the freezer when I started my gluten-free journey. And at that time, we did not have a weird section for gluten-free food. Oh, you had to search through the whole grocery store trying to find something that was gluten-free and trying to figure out the labels back then was insane. Now that's much easier. But there are so many different breads now. You can find one that you like. You have to invest a little bit to do that because there are all different. But again, if you want to make one on your own, during the pandemic, we started making sourdough bread. And
everyone did.
Who didn't, right? With gluten-free sourdough bread. But that's like my favorite thing now. And we make it all the time. My kids are like, will you make some? Will you make some? Like, well, we have to wait for the starter. I made a starter a couple weeks ago and it got gross, so I had to throw it out and start over. And then you have to wait for it to get better. It's good today, and I'm like, I have to get in there and bake it tonight.
That is a lot of work. So if you have the time and you want to make your own bread, see, when I hear people, I've made my own bread, I'm like, no, excuse me, I'm like, no fucking way. Like, I'm not making my own bread. Is it really that easy?
We will have to do a class on bread because
no, seriously.
Okay, you take brown rice flour and water. And you mix a half a cup of each, mix it and you put it in a jar covered on the counter. And every day you put a quarter cup of brown rice flour and water in there and mix it and leave it on the counter. And you just have to watch. You don't want the mold to grow or anything like that, but it starts to bubble up and just become this bubbly. Yeah, it's crazy. And then you use that to bake. And okay, so I use oats, my certified oats, and brown rice. And I do put an egg in mine, but for your group, I tried it without the egg and it did work. So you can do without the egg. Salt, olive oil,
Okay.
and milk, and that's it.
How long did this process take? You're adding something to the counter or whatever every day, right? Okay, so it's ready.
7 days.
Then
you need a good week. You need a good week for it to grow, to be ready. And then you bake with it. You use 3/4 of a cup. And then you just continue to feed it and you let it be. If I go on vacation, I stick it in the fridge.
But the actual bread making part, am I kneading bread? Am I waiting it to rise for an hour or 2 days?
Well, so typically, like I'm a little impatient. Typically, you would make the dough, and it's very quick. I do it in my food processor thing, in my big mixer. And you mix it up, you put it in the pan or your muffin tin, however you're making it, and you can let it sit for 6 to 8 hours or overnight. But I'm so impatient that I just put them in my whoopie pie pan, which is there's a big tip.
Yeah.
My big tip. I do a lot of my baking in my whoopie pie pans because it comes out nicer than muffins sometimes. And I pop it right in the oven, and we have rolls in 20 minutes. So, there are.
All right, Jen, I might hold you to doing a class for the Minding Your Soul people. Well, really for me, because honestly, I do not believe it's easy. Making bread, I grew up watching my mother make bread, and I remember thinking as a young kid, there's no way I would ever do this when you can just buy it. So
you need it. You let it rise, then you knead it again. You let it rise, and you can do all that process, but one day I just didn't want to wait, and I put it in the oven and it came out fine. I'm like,
all right, well, you guys heard it. There's currently 17 people on this live who just heard you say that. And there's going to be a shit ton more after the recording. So we're going to hold her to it. She's going to do a class, and we're going to see just how easy it is to make your own bread.
I will put some pictures up and you will see, my dear.
And then watch. I'm going to be telling people, I never made my own bread until Jen Marks showed me how. I could see it now. But the pizza, if you guys do want to make your own pizza, buy the crust. I mean, Jen will probably show you how to make a homemade pizza crust. That is easy. No, I'm kidding. But the Bonza pizza crust, dairy-free, egg-free, gluten-free. And then if you don't find, here's the thing, if you don't find a cheese that you like, don't add cheese. And when you're like, what? Pizza without cheese? Yeah, guess what? It's really freaking good.
Good. Yeah.
I've done black olives with sun-dried tomatoes and artichoke hearts. And these are all things that you buy already pre-sliced. Yep. You open the cans, you throw them in a strainer, right? Maybe give it a rough chop and then throw it on top. Here's the key. Stick it in the oven, take it out. It's all nice and crispy and bubbly and hot, right? Then you take a balsamic glaze and you go like that. Yes. I'm so Italian. My Italian's showing right now. You take that balsamic glaze over all of those things and you slice it up. You're not going to want the cheese again. But I am experimenting with tofu because I feel like if you add, garlic and salt, you can make tofu taste like cheese because it has the consistency of ricotta. Yeah. So I'm experimenting with that. But listen, guys, when you're going gluten-free, let's get back on track. When you're going gluten-free, just buy the shit off the shelves. Gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free. Test them out.
Start where you are. Yeah.
Start where you are. Jen and I, how many years under your belt, Jen?
12.
12. How old is Julie? 16. So 14. 14 years under my belt. We have a lot of experience to help you, right? Get started. But when we talk sometimes, you're like, I can't do that. Yeah, we couldn't do it either. This has been a really long time. And that's the point I want to drive home here today. Yeah. This is an evolution. The reason why my program is 4 months, Jen has a month long. How many months long is your program?
Different ones are different. Yeah.
But it's not just one class and done.
It's not one class. It's 6 weeks or it's 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 3 months or you need time to process.
And because this is not the only thing going on in your life, right? You still have an entire life going on. This is an evolution. It's a process. You start small and you build your way up. And yeah, you're going to accidentally glutenize yourself. It happens to all of us. It still happens to me. It still happens to Jen. It's just an evolution. But if you never start, that therein lies the problem if you never start. So let's go back to the questions, because I know there's a lot. Oh, who said that? Violife. You're right. Violife cheese is a really good brand. And their stuff, I was going to say their shit. The mouth on me today. I'm just going to say their shit really does taste like cheese. Violife. It's the freaking
Violife has corn in it.
Like this cold brew. It goes right to the veins. It's so awesome. And it's like, I just had it. So it's hitting pretty hard. All right. So I know I need to eat something to absorb it, because I feel my eyeballs popping out of my head. All right. Here's a good one from Barb. She says, not so hard to find options to cook at home, but no gluten, dairy, and egg cuts out most restaurants and most choices when trying to eat out. Extremely hard to travel. Can you help us with that? That's definitely for you, Jen. That's her specialty.
Absolutely. You want to pre-plan. Pre-plan. That's my big thing. You have to have kind of like your little travel book, on the side where you have bars or fruit or whatever that you're bringing with you, especially if you're going on a trip. So you have food in the car. Don't ever expect to go on a road trip and be able to stop and find something, because it's the time when you're starving that you won't find anything.
Don't let yourself get starving in a position where you don't have any of your own food. Glove box, purse. And we're not saying you're only strictly for the rest of your life going to eat out of your purse while you're traveling. No. But that's what I thought when I first started. I'm like, great. So my soy sauce and my food, it's all going to live in my purse for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We bring it with us. Oh, you poor thing. You had to bring food with you. I'm like, no, I'm eating healthy and I'm going to stay healthy and I'm going to feel good.
Right.
So it's worth bringing my food with me. But
right. Go ahead. We both are so excited. Go ahead.
We have so much to say.
Yeah.
The app Find Me Gluten-Free is your friend. Download it if you don't have it. When we are on the road, we will put in where we are. If we want to stop somewhere or our destination, we'll scope out our destination before we get there. What do they have that's gluten-free, where we can eat? I call ahead, talk to somebody, do not talk to the hostess.
Yeah.
Nothing
she knows nothing. She's pretending to know what gluten is.
I have been a hostess in the past, and I'm not dissing any hostesses, but don't talk to the hostess. Ask to talk to a manager.
Yeah.
And you say, what can I eat safely in your restaurant? Do you have procedures in place? Right. You have to ask the questions, because if you don't ask the questions, you're not going to get the meal that you want. Now, having said that, I have spent lots of time doing research on things, and you can still go in and they'll say, oh, well, there's nothing here that you can eat.
Right. But there's always vegetables. There's always baked potatoes.
You will find some. Yeah, you will find something. And that goes part of your mindset.
Yeah.
Which is what I talk a lot about in my programs, because you can go out to eat with your friends. So I called a restaurant, made sure they had something for me to eat, talked to the right people, I thought, and got there. Big group of women all having a grand old time. Comes to order, and the lady told me that I could order a plain salad with nothing on it. I was like,
thank you. Please bring me that iceberg lettuce with the cherry tomatoes.
Pay you $20 for that? No, I will have my glass of wine. Thank you very much. And I have a bar in my purse.
Let's remind everybody that wine is gluten-free. I mean, you need to soak it up with something in your belly. You really do. That's where the baked potato comes in, or the French fries.
Always have a bar in my purse. I always have something with me, and that is my fallback. Now, I could have been ticked off and ruined the whole night, right? But I was with a big group of people. We had a great time. We still had a nice time. I enjoyed my bar. Watching everybody eat. They're like, don't you want to eat? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I ate before I came. You don't have to get into all of it, but
those times will come. You are going to be stuck.
This was just a couple of years ago. It happens.
It happens. So, for the most part, you will be able to go eventually to any restaurant and be able to order something. I'm telling you, even an Italian restaurant, right, Jen? Yeah. So before I tell you what I do at an Italian restaurant, because at first I'm like, fuck, we're going for Italian. But I know I have my go-to. What's your go-to at an Italian restaurant?
Oh golly. What is my go-to? Usually they're you know what? I strike out sometimes because they always have corn pasta when I go. So
No, I never trust gluten-free pasta from a restaurant. I don't.
No.
I do from the one that my son works at, because he makes it. I'm like, if you're not going to make it, I don't want it. Yeah. But no, I'll never trust gluten-free pasta, because if I can't see the ingredient statement, it's not worth it.
No.
The antipasto. Always get the antipasto. Yeah, you could always fill up on it. You get a big salad, you get the antipasto, you don't get dressing, get oil and vinegar.
Oh, yeah.
You're always safe with oil and vinegar, right? Yeah. The creamy ones you want to stay away from, unless you can see a packet with an ingredient statement. And plus, cream means milk, so you're not going to want to do that anyway. You can order anything off of any menu. Stick with a chicken breast. Go with the steak if you don't mind eating meat. Go with the baked potato, vegetables. Five Guys and fries, people. Five Guys and fries.
That's our go-to when we're on the road.
That's my go-to. Yeah. And I hear that Chick-fil-A French fries, you can get a printout right there at the cash register of all the ingredients, right? Chick-fil-A French fries are gluten-free. They use a completely separate fryer, but check with yours, because I'm not sure if that's an issue.
They're not all the same, because I was traveling somewhere and the guy was like, I think they're gluten-free. I'm like, yeah, okay, goodbye.
Yeah, then forget it.
When you get that answer, we think it's gluten-free, do not order from them, because they don't know. If they don't know, don't put yourself in that situation. But as Janine said, there are so many places that you can go, and that Find Me Gluten-Free app is going to save you, because you put in like where you are, and all the restaurants come up, and there are reviews on there and stars. So there are other people who have celiac disease or have to be gluten-free that are saying this restaurant is great. They're so good. Or they'll say, do not eat here. These people don't know what they're doing, so it's very helpful.
It's like bringing the Minding Your Soul group along with you, like when you have a group of people who are all coming together who are gluten-free and know how much it could suck, they give you all the reviews that you need. Yeah. And so, good point about the Chick-fil-A. They don't all do the same procedures. Yeah. But the Five Guys and fries, they don't make anything else in their store that they put in that fryer oil. So they take the potatoes and they only use potatoes for that fryer oil. So you're always safe eating that. And they offer the lettuce wrap instead of a bun, which I didn't realize how delicious that was.
Yes. We always do that. Lettuce wrap is so good. And I'm going to give you a big tip that usually people have to be in my program to know this.
Thank you.
When you are out and about at the holidays, think about who works at the restaurants at the holidays. All the college kids come home, right? And they're all serving in the restaurant, and they don't always remember to retrain them when they come back. So we have found that, like during that holiday season, when the college kids are home and they're back in the restaurants, we've gotten sick at different restaurants that we've trusted, because it's all new kids coming in, and they're not stopping to retrain them. So
that's a good point.
Just think of situations like that. But again, ask your questions, talk to the manager, and you'll do really well.
And guys, be that person. So many people say, I don't want to be that person.
Oh, be that person.
You got to advocate for yourself. Be that person. I'm not telling you to be, what's her name? Meg Ryan. On When Harry Met Sally. I'll have this on the side and a little bit this, but only if that comes with that. I'm not telling you to be her. But ask your questions. Advocate for yourself. Make sure you're eating safely. I promise you, it does get easier, and you'll start to know your go-to places. Transition with anything is going to suck for a little bit of time. But this is where Jen and I come in to make sure that it sucks less. Now, we're going to answer a lot more questions, but I don't want to forget, and I don't want to wait to the end in case anyone can't watch the whole thing. Jen's actually running a workshop next week. Yeah. Same time that we're running the workshop in Minding Your Soul, but it doesn't matter, because hers are recorded and live, mine are recorded and live. So whichever one you feel like going to, yours is what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
And bonus day on Thursday. So Monday to Thursday at noon. So I'll be live in my Facebook group, and then you'll get the recording if you sign up. So yeah.
And that's how I ran mine. This way, if you don't want to make it live, or if you can't make it live, you're still going to get the recording. So we'll put that link in the comments. So this way, if you do want more gluten-free information from Jen, because she really is even though we're both gluten-free, right? Jen teaches it all the time. Like I forget all these little things that we do. I teach you why you have to be gluten-free, right? We need to starve the virus. Jen teaches you exactly how to be gluten-free. She also healed herself, so she understands, not from MS, but from celiac disease. And she's got an entire family that she's got to feed gluten-free and corn-free. Well, the two with the corn-free. So utilize Jen's information, and don't worry if you feel like doing the gluten-free workshop next week with Jen. Mine's recorded, so whichever one you feel like doing, we're both there for you, and we'll probably maybe plan better next time because I forgot to ask Jen.
I know, we both were like, wait, what? We didn't talk to each other. It's like, uh-oh.
And I'm like, shit, did you already promote
get
yours?
it out? And I was like, whoops.
I did the same thing. That's all right, but we're like, it's all going to be recorded anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the questions.
Okay.
All right, I did that one. Agree with all the above. I love this one. Dina says, my husband and son are concerned about how this will affect them.
Ooh. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You can go first and then I'll chime in.
Because the reason why I want to go first is because I have a new husband. The new husband, we call him the caveman because he literally eats anything. He came into this house and this house was gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free. And I didn't tell him that at first because when he came over to meet my kids for dinner, I didn't tell him anything. So I'm just making dinner and, it went on. And I think it was a couple months and he's like, you're what? I'm like, gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free. He's like, except when I come over for dinner? And I go, no. He goes, what are you talking about? Everything that I make, we have bread, pasta, pizza. We have everything, like ice cream, wine. Like we enjoy our food here. The scale will tell you how much I enjoy my food here. And he didn't know that we were all of those things. He had no idea because he was enjoying the food. So if you're not a good cook, don't worry about it. But if you are a good cook, you can easily cook gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free. And if you're not a good cook, don't cook. Just go out and get the dairy-free, egg-free stuff. There's a way to do it.
You can learn.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to, you can learn.
You
absolutely
and you're
in charge of your ingredients. That's what I like to say,
Like one woman posted on here, I'll look at it later because it's on another screen. Another woman posted, I miss my husband making me tiramisu. I was like, you could still make tiramisu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sent her a vegan recipe. If he made it before, he can make it this way. And it's not that hard. Few little things. So how does your family feel about, do they feel like they're deprived at all by having to eat this way?
No. So all three of my children have celiac disease. My husband is not gluten-free, but he eats everything that we eat because I cook everything gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free.
He's gluten-free when he's home.
And he is absolutely gluten-free when he's home. Sometimes he'll bring things into the house and we have to remind him, your space is over here, making sure you have that kitchen set up. That's really
my husband has the top shelf of the fridge when he brings in his Wawa and Quick Check sandwiches.
Yeah. So you want to have a space. Absolutely. But, So, and we were married before I was diagnosed. So, it came along after and
he's still there. You're still married.
He's still here. He's still here. And then all three of the kids. So I was gluten-free for a year before my children, my first two, we found out they had celiac disease. And I found that out because I was gluten-free trying to figure it out and doing all the research. I was like, wait a minute, this is Freddie, this is Alex, this is Freddie, and we put the pieces together, had them tested, and yes, they had celiac disease. But they watched me for a year. Mommy, why are you eating that? Why are you eating that way? Why are we not eating that? Or if I'd cook for everybody to eat that. Right. So they kind of watched me for a while before they had to be gluten-free, but they saw me getting better. And they saw that just by changing my plate, I did change my health. So when I told them they needed to do that, look, we're not going to have, all these hospitalizations and all these other things to go through. It's just, you're going to change your plate and you're going to do better. And they're like, okay. And they were just like, okay. And that was it. And my third guy was born into it. So,
right. He doesn't know anything different.
Yeah, so he doesn't. He even looked at me the other day. He goes, what's a Pop-Tart? I'm like, okay, you're 10. Wow.
You did what's a Pop-Tart? I love that. My kids didn't know what soda was until they went to school. They thought seltzer was soda. You come home and they're like, you lied to us. I'm like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I love the class that you do, and I know we're going to do it in the September or October to January program, because Jen takes all of the holiday foods, right, that we grew up with that are just so nostalgic, and just the flavors alone bring us back to childhood. She does a whole class inside the Path to Healing program to show us all the recipes that she has converted into gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free. So like creamed onions. You did that last year in the program. I was like, man, I didn't even know about like what did you say? What was the rice flour, but it was a certain kind of rice flour.
Sweet rice flour.
Sweet rice flour. Huge difference. So in the Path to Healing group, we bring Jen in to show us like all of these tricks on what to do. And it really does make a difference, because when you are going to family gatherings, like you don't want to be that person. I was always that person until I got good at this. You want to be able to bring dishes that are safe for you to eat, and that everyone else, when they eat them, they're not going to be like, oh, that's Janine's food. No, you want everyone to enjoy what you brought.
They all want your food because it's so good. Yeah.
And it doesn't make them feel bad.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, wait, I got to address this because 2 people asked it, and I'm glad you did, and I can't find it now, but it was about Ezekiel bread. A lot of people think Ezekiel bread is safe to eat. Go ahead, talk about that while I look for who.
No, Ezekiel bread is still made with wheat. So even though it's sprouted, it doesn't mean that it's safe for you. So you have to watch that. I know that they used to have a gluten-free Ezekiel bread, but I have not been able to find it in any of our stores for probably the last couple of years. So I don't know if we just don't carry it in my area, or, but I haven't seen it in a long time. And it was very expensive too. It was like $10.99 for the loaf. And I was like, what?
Yeah. So just because you see the word Ezekiel does not mean gluten-free. Yeah. And no matter what, turn it over. Read the ingredients. Most times, if there's wheat in it, it's going to be one of the first few ingredients.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, Jen, Lynn just asked, what was the name of that gluten-free app again?
Find Me Gluten-Free.
Oh, no, that's nice and easy. Okay, I love Malak. Malak, I hope you're still watching, and it's probably like midnight where you are right now. So thank you for watching. I love what Malak said, because this is exactly what I do. She goes, at restaurants, always say that you have a serious allergy and it might kill you. This will make them double check the ingredients. And I put on such a face and I go, is it gluten-free? Because if it's not gluten-free, I swear to God, an arm or a leg will fall off in this restaurant and it will be your fault. My kids are like, Mom. I'm like, no, seriously, it will fall right off. Please let me know if this is gluten-free. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, it's that bad. So you don't have to be that person. You could just say, listen, I have a serious allergy and I will be hospitalized. Can you please check on this for me? You know, whatever level of drama you want to add to that, it works.
And do not fall for is this a preference or an allergy?
Don't you hate that?
That's not your business.
You know what? We curse in this group, so I'm just going to say it. I just want to go, fuck you. Why are you asking me that? That's insane. And you know what? The restaurant that my son works at, they used to ask that until he came home and he told me. I'm like, oh, no, we need to go talk. We need to talk.
Yeah.
He told me that the owner will actually, if it's a preference, they won't waste the gluten-free pasta. If it's a preference, they won't waste it. So because a lot of times they'll order the chicken parm, which is breaded, with the gluten-free pasta. So they're like, oh, they don't even know what gluten is. And they'll add that. They have no idea who's sharing what off of what plates. Yeah. So if they ask preference or an allergy, I wouldn't even eat there because I feel like that's just an indication of an attitude problem from management.
Oh, yes. Oh, and here's a good one. I went to a restaurant in New York City. We were all dressed up, all excited to eat out, and went in and I said, what kind of gluten-free pasta do you have? Gluten-free pasta.
Yeah.
It's gluten-free. I'm like, what kind of gluten-free pasta do you have?
It's gluten-free. What else do you need to know, Jen?
What do you mean? It's gluten-free. I'm like, what's in it? It took me 20 questions to ask this man. And he just said, it's our gluten-free pasta. Like, he was like, I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
that place
sorry,
you don't eat at.
bye. We're gonna go somewhere else. We were so sad. I'm like, wow, okay, yeah. So be careful how they answer you, my friends. Be careful.
Yeah, pay attention to this stuff and you will get to know your places. And I'm sorry for all the cursing, but it makes me so friggin' angry when they ask that question. I'm like, all right, we're out of here. We're done.
Yeah.
Same person, Malak goes, for my long travels, and she was in the Bath to Healing program. She did so well. Like, she is living the life right now.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. She says, for my long travels, I just order roasted chicken breasts and vegetables every time. You're really safe with that. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, what about the seasonings they use? And I'm like, listen, I hear you. I take the skin off just to be safe. Order the roasted chicken. If it comes with skin, just take it off, or ask them what they marinated in. Most of the time, it's not going to be a flour, but just ask.
Yeah.
So
that's where your hidden gluten is, in the marinades.
In the marinades, exactly. So you got to ask about that. Fish is good without the sauce. Vegetables, baked potatoes, sweet potatoes, do all that. French fries, no. They coat them most of the time in restaurants with wheat, right? You can talk about that, Jen, while I look through the comments.
They do. So often they are coated. They'll have something sprayed on them or added to them. And often they'll say, oh, our fries are gluten-free. But what they don't tell you is that their fries are fried in the same fryer with the onion rings and the chicken fingers that are full of gluten. So you always want to say, do you have a dedicated gluten-free fryer? And that's when I say yes, because who wants to have a hamburger at a restaurant if you can't have fries? I get so mad.
Like, I know, but that's why they're so good and crispy, because they're coated with wheat.
Well, yeah. So ask the question. And, if they say, oh, yeah, the fries are gluten-free, don't just assume. You always have to say, dedicated gluten-free fryer. Okay, then you can order them.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, just take, we're going to answer the next question, which is going to go into why. Just diluting the coffee. It's feeling really good with some water. I've switched. My eyes are bugging out of my head. I've been running around so much today. I didn't eat a ton, and I've just been sucking down iced coffee, which, yes, on the protocol, coffee is perfectly okay as long as it's organic and you got oat milk in there.
Yep.
Woo. All right. This question, I loved this question. And Stephanie, I am so glad you asked it. And I responded because I wanted to make sure that we talk. I talked about this. She wrote, Janine and everyone, I believe the hardest thing for me about the gluten-free lifestyle is the fact that I don't feel any different with or without it. It seems like if it's so good for me, by following this routine, I would ultimately start to feel better. With how expensive it is, it's hard to keep buying it when I don't see or feel any different. And Jan is like, Stephanie, I love this. I feel the same way. And I'm so glad you posted it, because I do forget to talk about that a lot of times. Jan, for celiac, you're going to feel it right away. Celiac disease.
Yeah, not even everybody. I mean, there are people who have celiac. It's called silent celiac. So they don't have any reaction. So that's why they don't even know they have it. But typically, you're right, what you were about to say. We read each other's minds. We work together.
We do. We're getting really good at this.
We've been doing this.
This is why she's part of the program, because she's awesome. I didn't even know about the silent celiac. I didn't know
we just talk to each other, and it's like, okay, let me talk. No, no. What you have is, yes, you can have silent celiac, but celiac disease is typically, you have the bloating and the belly aches and the running to the bathroom and the neuropathy and the headaches and the brain fog and the rashes. And there's hundreds of symptoms you can have, which is why it's hard to pinpoint it, right?
And that's why when you're doing this, like when you're doing something, like what is the goal of doing it? So Jen and her, many of her clients have celiac, right? So they're going to get those immediate feelings. When we're doing it in this group, when we're trying to kill the Epstein-Barr virus, which is responsible for causing our MS symptoms, we're like, great, gluten-free. I did it. I did it for 3 months, Janine. I don't feel any different. Here's why. You need the targeted attack. I always say you have to do all the things all the time. So the name of the protocol is Starve, Kill, Detox for a reason, because I don't have a creative bone in my body. And that's what the protocol does. You starve the virus, you kill the virus, and then you detox it out of your body. To starve the virus, you have to remove its food sources. That's the gluten, the dairy, the eggs, and the heavy metals. So even if you are gluten, dairy, and egg free, you still have to remove the heavy metals. You're not being gluten free to change how you feel immediately. You're being gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free because our goal is to starve the virus. We're going to talk a lot more about this, the entire protocol, in the workshop next week, and I will break it down for you. But I want you to know, we're trying to kill the Epstein-Barr virus. The Epstein-Barr virus has been around for over 100 years. It is the most elusive virus out there because it leaves our bloodstream and hides in our organs. That's why we have been wrongly accused of having an autoimmune disease, our body automatically attacking itself when it's not. They just couldn't see until now, until recently, that the body was actually attacking a virus called the Epstein-Barr virus. So in order to kill the virus and in order to get rid of all the MS symptoms, you have to do the targeted attack. You can't just do one thing. You can't just drink celery juice and expect to see a difference. You have to kill this thing from all the angles. The starve, the kill, the detox, again, which is why my program includes Matt and Jen and is 4 months, because this isn't something that you can do overnight with a little bit of information. We take an entire week, which, because Jen's doing her workshop next week and I'm doing my, that's why we're doing the live at 5. So this is kind of like a prelude to the workshop. We have to do the targeted attack. We have to starve the virus by removing the gluten, the dairy, the eggs, and the heavy metals. Then we have to bring up our immune system with all of those superheroes, all of the fruits and vegetables, so that our immune system can kill it in its weakened state, right? And then we're detoxing out. We start with the detox method, the lemon water and the celery juice, because we don't want to experience the die-off and the overwhelm in our body. So we get that detox process moving first before we start that targeted attack, so that our body can detox the dead corpse out of our body more easily, because the corpse is actually a neurotoxin and a dermatoxin. And I got to slow down. That caffeine is really killing me. I feel like my mouth is moving faster than my brain. Okay, so no more large cold brews before live at 5s. So I hope that answers your question. If you are just going gluten-free and you're wondering why you're not feeling a difference, it's because in this group, we are not going gluten-free because we have a gastrointestinal issue when we eat gluten. We're starving the virus. So when we starve the virus and we weaken it, we can more easily kill it, which is going to bring down the viral load, which is going to give your immune system a better chance of seeing it, killing it, and getting out of your system. Only then do we start healing the symptoms of MS, when we bring down that viral load and eventually get rid of it entirely. And so in the workshop, day 1, I'm going to be talking about the exact root cause of the virus and the 4 stages that it goes through, so that you can completely understand what's happening inside your body, how to build your targeted attack, right? And then we bring in Jen in that program to show us exactly the day-to-day, how to get gluten out of everything in our house, the refrigerator, the pantry. I'm doing good. I'm holding my own here with this caffeine. All right. So Erica said the same thing. I agree. I don't feel any different. So hopefully that answered your question. Let me know in the comments. Oh, Malak, thank you. She said exactly.
And can I piggyback on that?
Please, while I dilute some more.
Yeah, absolutely. And also what's happening too is you're gluten-free to maintain your health now, right? You're going to maintain your health, because when gluten comes in, then you don't feel so good, because what happens is gluten is very inflammatory. And that's what you don't want in your body, right?
Yeah, that's perfect. Because people ask me, well, Janine, now that you don't have any symptoms, are you going to eat gluten? And I'm like, you know what? They say, like, if I went over to Italy that I could, and that it wouldn't feed the virus, but I don't think I'll ever take that chance. I'll ever find out.
Yeah.
When I used to accidentally eat gluten, I would go down. Like, that's why I tell people, like, a leg or an arm will literally fall off. Because when I used to accidentally glutenize myself, I would lose the feeling in an arm, a leg. I would go paralyzed. It's been 14 years now. So when I accidentally glutenize myself, I catch it early, right? It's only 3 potato chips last time. No, potato chips don't normally have gluten in them, but this was a flavored kind. It did. And then my husband didn't check. So that just came out in my skin. So when your body is purging viruses, it's going to come out in your skin. So I don't know if I am completely rid of the virus, but I know that I love the way I eat. I love the way I feel, and I don't ever want to change this. Whether or not I could ever eat gluten, dairy, and eggs again, I don't know, and I don't care. But so if there's anyone out there who has also, healed all of their symptoms and went back to gluten. If I find them, I will bring them to you and we'll do an interview.
Yeah, I have heard people with celiac disease say, I'm healed, I can eat gluten again, because they feel great, right? You've been gluten-free for a while, you feel great, you have your energy back, your belly's flat again, you're not looking like you're 6 months pregnant anymore, and you feel great. And they're like, oh, I'm healed, I can eat gluten now. And well, no.
Right.
You will be gluten-free forever. And, yes, that is your sentence. You will be gluten-free, but it's a good thing, because when you see all the health benefits that you get from it, that's what you focus on. That's what you look at. That's your mindset.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And you know what? We had in that poll that I posted in Minding Your Soul yesterday, like, what is the number one thing that is a pain in the ass about going gluten-free? 35% of the people, or 35% of the voters, which was 30 votes, said knowing what to buy and where to buy it.
Yeah.
That's where the groups come in. And I can tell you, in the group, in the files section, download this, look at this, because it has so many great options in there. It's like 20 something pages. Yes, I wrote all of this. This is all what I eat, where I buy it, but also Jen's doing the workshop next week. She's got all of the 3 days plus a bonus.
3 days. Yeah. So we'll talk about on day one, we're doing, what are you eating? How do you feel your gluten-free plate? And how do you optimize that as you move forward? Then what are you thinking? Because mindset is big, like going to the restaurant and like, oh, this sucks because I can't eat. Well, let's figure that out, so you're not down in the dumps all the time, right? And then what are you doing? What habits are you instilling in your lifestyle to help you sustain this so you can move forward? And, you wake up and we're just living. I'm not waking up stressed out that I'm gluten-free anymore.
You don't even think about it anymore, do you?
No. And case in point, my daughter was diagnosed in 3rd grade. When she went to college, she is a senior in college this year. It's hard to say that out loud. Oh my goodness. So 3rd grade till now, when she was leaving for college, she's like, Mom, how am I going to do this? And I was like, wait, what? You have the gluten-free stuff down? She goes, no, I'm not even thinking about that. How am I going to stay healthy in college when the food they serve might not be healthy options? And I'm like, see, this is what we want. You want to have the tips, the strategies, and the tools that you just create habits out of.
Yeah.
So you wake up and you're just living again. It's not stressing that, oh my God, I have to eat gluten-free, until something big, like a big vacation or a big party out, that's when you might have to revamp things and check things again, because it's
get a little creative, what you're going to bring. Yeah,
absolutely.
But you don't have to get creative every single day to feed yourself and to enjoy your food.
Absolutely. Oh, we love to eat at my house. So yeah. Just like,
and we're Italian. There's no way we're giving up pasta, pizza. It's Friday night. Every Friday night we have pizza and it's delicious. And I'm going to start taking pictures of it and I'm going to start posting it, because I'll tell you what, you take that kale right out of I know what you're thinking. Kale. I'm telling you, it tastes really good. Out of the freezer, and you just sprinkle it right on top with that balsamic glaze. Someone else said in the comments, they're like, yes, I tried the balsamic glaze. It was so good. Oh, Pauline's here. She's in Australia. She said we have 100% gluten-free pub here in Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even gluten-free beer. That's cool as hell. We don't have anything like that here, at least not that I know of.
Now, I know that 35% was knowing what to buy and where to buy it.
Yep.
Like, those are things that I cover. Like, how do you shop? Where do you shop? And I teach how you save gluten-free.
So, definitely take Jen's workshop, and we're both doing the same thing, because I didn't plan very well, and we're both doing it next week at noon, but both of ours are live and they're also recorded. So as long as you're registered, whatever you feel like doing that day, do it, because whatever you missed, you could always watch the recording, just like we do here.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, someone just said, what about the gluten in oats? Okay, we talked about that in the beginning. So real quick review. It's the coffee. Oats are naturally gluten-free. However, because of the processing, they use the same machinery to process wheat and oats. So the cross-contamination is like off the charts. Just buy yourself the gluten-free oats, because then you'll know that they're not contaminated with anything. Yes, naturally they are, but the way they process them they use, the machinery that they use for wheat. So avoid the cross-contamination, because we don't know how sensitive we are. We don't know how, how the littlest bit of gluten can feed the virus. So that was an excellent question. I'm glad she went back.
And that goes for Janine. That also goes for your oat milk.
Oh yeah, that's right. Talk about that. That was a good one.
Be careful of that. So yeah, so if you're having any of the dairy-free milks, especially the oat milk, make sure you're checking that as well, because you don't want to be drinking oat milk that's made with cross-contaminated oats, right?
Excellent point. I did not know that. So that's perfect. And Dina just asked a really good question. And my brother said this to me the other day, because he lives in the city. He's like, Janine, I don't have time to keep fresh produce in my house. And he thought he got me, right? So Dina asks, she sounds just like my brother, I need to find out how to get enough food in the house. We are 45 minutes away from the grocery and 1 hour from Costco. Wait, okay, veggies don't last long. You know what? Even if you're 10 minutes away from an organic produce market, like I am, it's still really hard to keep fresh produce in the house. So don't keep fresh produce in the house. Try to, and when you can, great. Frozen produce is actually better for you. Get the frozen produce, make sure it's organic, keep it in your freezer. It lasts forever in the freezer. And what my brother didn't know either is that, think about it, the fruit or the vegetable is picked off of the farm, right? And then it's sent to either a processor or a farmer's market or a grocery store. It's got to ride on a truck. So this fresh produce is 2 weeks out before it makes it to your grocery aisle, your produce section. The frozen fruit comes off the farm. It goes right into the processing facility. Right. They chop it up, or they don't, or whatever, and they freeze it. It's frozen within 24 hours of being picked. And every day that your fruit or vegetable is off the vine and out of the farm, it's losing more and more nutrients. So I think we've been conditioned to think fresh is better. It's not. Frozen
not
is
always better. And right now, I don't know about you, but around our area with the longer transportation times, I mean, we're buying fruit and the next day it's bad. And I'm like, what is going on? So so you really have to watch that, especially now. But the other side to that coin is that if you have your fresh produce and you're chopping it up and you're meal planning, you will use it all.
I freaking love you. I was just going to say that. Perfect.
Sorry.
How many times we're like, oh, the berries are about to go, get them in the freezer, right? And let's say, well, I don't always have time to chop up my berries and throw them in the freezer. So don't chop up your berries. Don't take the stems off. Put them in a bag. My son's calling. I'm just gonna hold on. No, I'm just gonna text him. I'm on a live. He's at a Pearl Jam concert.
Oh.
He had no idea that Pearl Jam was from my high school years. I'm like, you're calling me old. He called me old or something. He referred to me as being old as he's walking into the car. I'm like, dude, you're calling me old? You're going to see Pearl Jam. That's my music.
Hello.
So listen, like when people hear meal prep, they think, oh, I don't have the friggin' time or the energy to meal prep. Guess what? A lot of people, I don't. Nobody does, right? And you don't even feel like doing it sometimes. When the berries are going, they're going. Make sure you have your Ziploc gallon bags or reusable freezer bags, whatever you use. Take the whole friggin' thing of the container, throw it in the bag, throw it in the freezer. Then when you do have the time, then you take it out of the freezer, let them defrost, cut the stems off. You don't have to be all Pinterest. You don't have to be all TikTok, influencer on your meal prep. It doesn't have to be pretty. You just have to get shit done. Like my motto is just get it done. I don't freaking care how it looks. Just get it done.
Well, yeah. And we do think meal prep is like, oh my gosh, so much more time, so many more things to do. But that's one of those habits that when you start doing things, when you come home from the grocery store, how you put things away, when you chop things, when you prepare things, those are those little habits that make huge differences moving forward. So
you don't have to do this all at once. It's not like you're going to go grocery shopping and come home and have like 3 hours worth of stuff. No. Maybe, right. Jen's laughing. It's like, no one does that. Everyone thinks that people do that. No one does that. So the things that Jen teaches, we're real people. We have lives and responsibilities and kids and stress and we're real people, and we make this easy for you because we've done it so long. We've picked up all of the tips and tricks to make it real life. That's why Jen's a part of the 4-month program, because the first time I talked to her, I'm like, oh, you are my people. You need to be part of this program. You need to teach this shit, because It's so important to understand that we're not Pinterest people. We're real people living real lives who are real friggin' busy or real friggin' lazy. And that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
All right, guys. I hope that. Oh, wait, one more question. Dina wants to know, and I know she's not asking me because I don't think I have that. Do you, Jen, have a pantry building list?
I do, but that's only in my programs. I hate to tell you that.
No, that's good. Tell them where it's available. It's fine.
Yeah. So I only share that in my programs. I held off a long time. And even still, I don't like to give, like, people want to know what brands do you buy and what this do you eat and what that do you eat. And then you start giving the brands that you eat and they're like, oh, well, that's gross. Well, because guess what, Janine, you might love that cheese and I might hate that cheese.
Some people love Daya.
List, yeah, and I give you my list and you're like, ew, this is what you eat, ew. And then you think, I don't know what I'm talking about, or Janine doesn't know what she's talking about because we gave you a list of foods you didn't like.
We gave you shit brands.
but everyone has their own preferences. We can show you, what should you have in your pantry? Yeah, absolutely. That's stuff I cover, and that's perfect. And I've got a lot on my website about that. I have blog posts on that. You can check that out at glutenfreemarksthespot.com. But in my programs, we go over what can you eat, what should you look for, all the basics that you can eat, and what to have in your fridge, what to have in your pantry. And then, you can get some lists of what can you buy, what are some brands that are healthier, better to look at or to use. Because as a health coach, I'm taking you gluten-free, and then we take a few steps to get healthier, right? So
I'm so glad because you answered her question right as she was asking. So she said basic necessities. So you did say like the basic stuff so that you can go out and find your brand of what that basic thing is. Yeah. And then Suzanne just said, I have been watching Jen for gluten-free tips on Facebook because of you, Janine. Well, thank you for telling us that.
Yes, I know, Janine. I know Suzanne. Hi there.
And that's why we do this. The more people that we can get together and be like, hey, guess what? Healing isn't hard. First of all, healing is possible.
Yes.
Second, healing isn't hard. And third, here's how you do it, right? We need more people like that. So guys, anything that you find that is helpful to you on your healing journey, please post in the groups. Please share it with everybody because in Minding Your Soul, I give away all of the freaking information, all of the information for free. So if you want to do it, you can absolutely have all the information you need to do it. And then if you feel like you need a little bit of more accountability, you want to check in, then yes, then I offer the 4-month coaching program of which Jen is always going to be a part of because she's so good. She gets in her kitchen. Her kitchen is beautiful and it's always freaking clean. And I'm always looking around at my kitchen. I'm like, this is what I used to do cooking demos when I was pregnant. And I just having a baby now and the kitchen is always freaking dirty.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't know how I can't do cooking demos now for a couple of years because I cannot keep on top of that all the time. Suzanne just said, I won a baking course from Jen. You are a lucky woman, Suzanne.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Oh my God. What was the name of the gluten-free food app? Say it again. We're going to have to post it later. Arden wants to.
Find Me Gluten-Free.
Perfect.
Find Me Gluten-Free. Yep.
We will put that in the comments.
Yep.
We'll also put all the links to register for our workshops.
Yep.
Just know they're both live. They're both recorded. So whichever one you feel like attending that day, that's what you attend.
Yep.
We'll put that all in there. And if you guys are watching the recording, if it's after the Wednesday Live at 5, still comment because Jen's part of Minding Your Soul. She's in the group. She will see it. So, and if she doesn't, like you guys do with me, it's perfect. If I don't see something, they go back and they tag me. I was like, oh, sorry, I missed that one. So just tag us if it's super important.
Yeah. Any questions, tag me. I'll be back.
Yeah. Like, I don't know about you, but I do it at night, like when I'm rocking the baby to sleep in this one hand and then I'm like answering texts on this one. So we get to it eventually.
Yeah.
We try to do it sooner than later. But you know what? We'll put not only the registration to the workshops in there, but we'll also put the name to the app in there and everything that we talked about. We'll just throw in the comments. And I hope we answered everybody's question. If not, I know we're going to take a deep dive next week in our workshop. So please register. And I just want to publicly thank Jen for everything that you do and how easy you make this. Thank you.
Well, thanks. I love working with you. We always have fun together, and we share a lot of great stuff and help a lot of great people. So that is what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And we just need to keep passing it along. Everyone, just learn your stuff and pass it on so that we all can heal. All right.
Yes.
All right. I don't think the coffee's wearing off yet, so I'm going to go eat something. Thank you all for dealing with the caffeinated, hyped up Janine today. And thank you, Jen, for doing this.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Any questions, let us know. All right.
Bye, guys.